Greetings, loved ones. Children and adolescents who have been sexually abused frequently face the prospect of going to court. Although legal action can be an important step in helping children and families move forward and recover from the trauma of child sexual abuse, it can also add to the stress of coping with life after the abuse. Today we're going to talk about child sexual abuse and coping with the emotional stress of the legal system. Help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You could save a life. If your family is involved in a legal action related to child sexual abuse, knowing what to expect can help your child or adolescent cope with the stress. You can help prepare yourself and your family by learning more about the role of the legal system, common concerns about legal action, and suggested strategies to cope with the legal process at different stages. So let's talk about understanding the role of the legal system in child sexual abuse cases. Your level of control and input will vary depending on the type of legal action that is involved. When your family is involved in legal action, it can be helpful to understand the different types of cases and their goals. So let's discuss some of the most common types of legal cases. In criminal cases, the goal is to protect society. The prosecuting attorney's role is to represent the entire community, not just the child who has been abused. The prosecutor decides how the case is conducted and whether charges are filed or dismissed. I understand that the lack of control over important decisions in criminal cases can be frustrating and distressing for victims and their families, particularly when their wishes differ from those of the prosecuting attorney or when the verdict or sentencing is not what they had expected. So I'm going to insert here. When we talk about dismissal or not filing charges or anything, what you need to understand is that the prosecuting attorney can only file charges if there is enough evidence for conviction. They will, for example, if witnesses don't show up, if the people who saw something or heard something don't testify because they're afraid or don't want to get involved or think it's not their problem, these cases won't go to court, or if they go to court, the lack of witnesses can destroy the case in criminal cases. So let's talk about private civil cases now. These will be custody cases, restraining orders, suits against the abuser for personal injury, etc. In these civil cases, the goal is to ensure the best interests of the child and or to obtain financial restitution for the emotional and physical costs of the abuse. Because the parent, guardian, and child are the ones bringing the suit, they make the most important decisions about how to conduct the case, and they may be responsible for some of the court fees. A guardian ad litem may be appointed by the court to represent the child's interests, but in private civil cases, this will usually be at the expense of one of the parties. In child protection cases, the goal is to protect the child when there is evidence that the child has been abused by a parent, guardian, or other primary caregiver. During child protection hearings, decisions may be made to remove the child or adolescent from the family and place them in the temporary custody of a foster home or other placement. As with criminal cases, in child protection cases, the government files legal action, which means that the family does not have the right to dismiss the case. In Honduras, the law states that in domestic violence cases and violence against the elderly and the disabled and children, that the case has to continue forward. The family and the victim cannot decide that they don't want to proceed with the case. So let's talk about a guardian ad litem. If they're appointed to represent the child's interests, this will be at the government's expense. Understand, it's important to understand, because you might feel attacked in this. Understand that the goal of these actions is not to punish the parent or caretaker, but to protect the safety and well-being of the child. Legal action can be an important step in helping families move forward. So let's talk about the judge appointed a guardian ad litem for your child. So what does this mean? Guardian ad litem means guardian at law. This is a person appointed by the judge to advocate for the best interests of the child in a particular case. Appointment of a guardian ad litem usually happens in cases where the child disagrees with the parent or caretaker about how to proceed, or where there is evidence that the caretaker may have been involved in or in some way responsible for the abuse. For example, by failing to protect the child against harm by another person. So let's talk about some common concerns about taking legal action. Many abused children, adolescents, and their families are worried about getting involved with the court process. They may want to get on with their lives and just leave the abuse in the past. They may be afraid of losing their privacy, or they may feel embarrassed or ashamed about what happened. That's all normal. They may worry about going to court will cause more trauma and pain. These are all understandable concerns. However, if children or adolescents have been sexually abused, it is also possible that the legal system can be of help to them and their families. In addition to giving children and adolescents a chance to stand up for their rights and speak out against those who hurt them, participation in a criminal prosecution or civil suit assures the children that there are people who support them and believe them, and that they are trying to make sure the offender is held responsible for what was done. That's important. In our next episode, we will discuss some of the most common concerns about going to court in child sexual abuse cases and suggest methods of coping with or reducing those concerns. Also keep in mind that there may be local support groups, crisis centers, child and civil rights law firms, and legal aid agencies that provide free support services for court-related cases. In addition, many communities have children's advocacy centers, CACs, that offer coordinated support and services to victims of child abuse, including sexual abuse. For a state-by-state listing of accredited CACs, visit the website of the National Children's Alliance. That's at www.nca-online.org. We'll put it in the description. And if you are experiencing difficulty in getting the answers you need from the legal system, these groups can be of assistance in contacting the court system for you. According to the CDC, over half of all children in the world, that's 1 billion children ages 2 to 17, experience violence every year. The question is not if you'll encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. I say that over and over and over again. By watching these videos, if you are a victim, you will realize you are a victim and learn how to get out of the abuse and get help. If you are not a victim, you'll learn how to identify a victim of violence and learn how to help them. And you could save a life, because a lot of children commit suicide out of abuse. Suicide rates are going up, and it's becoming extremely worrisome. And God says in Micah 6:8 that he has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To do justice, to love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. If you're a victim, I want you to know there is a way out. It is not your fault. Abuse is not love. And most of all, I want you to know you are not alone. So if you are suffering violence, reach out to someone today. Reach out to me. Reach out to the other information that we give you and places that can help you. And if you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. If you know of a child or other person suffering violence, please tell the authorities. In our next episode, we will discuss some of the most common concerns about going to court in child sexual abuse cases and suggest methods of coping with or reducing those concerns. Until then, God bless you.